Welcome to Strategy Session here on Lincoln Square Media, the only show on the internet where actual political strategists give you the stories behind the headlines and tell you what it actually means for the Democrats, the Republicans, and for you. I'm Democratic strategist Max Burns, and I'm joined by one of the best in the business, a bear with the strength of two bears, the great Mr. Joe Trippi is joining us. Joe, it's great to have you with us this evening.
Great to be with you too, Max.
Now, we have got so much stuff going on this week, and it's only Tuesday. So everybody put on your hazmat suits, and we are going to dive directly into what has been an absolutely crazy week in American politics so far. And I want to start with these big Supreme Court decisions that just came down. The Republican majority on the court apparently deciding that there is just not enough money in politics, and ruling on this case that was originally brought by J.D. Vance when he was a senator, a 6-3 decision that says that state and national political parties can now spend an unlimited amount of money on candidates and coordinate directly with those candidates. The court's Republicans overruling what was called the coordinated party expenditure limit. And they're now arguing that violated the First Amendment. They also ruled that these parties have essentially no limitations on how they can use that money to support candidates. This, I imagine, is going to have an immediate effect. What should we expect, Joe, to see in the coming weeks from the parties?
Well, I mean, look, with no coordination, inhibitions or prohibition, I just think you're going to see a lot of new committees sprout up with, nice sounding names that are actually designed to do the dirty work of every campaign out there, and with no real reporting in terms of how much the cash and what they're doing, and they can coordinate directly. So it's literally before look, we used to have like the red box where maybe a campaign could signal to an independent expenditure what they were hoping they would get support, but that's gone. It's like a phone call. Forget it. They could be in the same room. They can move money back and forth. This is handing the Republican Party, I think, because they play this game more or have been more successful at playing it with the dark money than Democrats have been. And particularly with the billionaires, with Elon Musk, people who can just write a big check and create their own committee and go wild in all of these races now, and coordinate with the campaign they're trying to help. So, this is just another step to putting more power in the hands of corporations and the billionaires. And again, first of all, you got to remember that corporations are people. All of this is based on that First Amendment that says it was supposed to be for all of us, for people, for real human beings, not corporations, not and they've just lifted it all. This has been one of the worst days of Supreme Court, days where they released rulings. I didn't see a whole lot of anything good other than Thomas telling Roy Moore that he's not going to get the $8 million that he was suing for in that in his civil case. That Thomas just rejected that. That was about the only, and it was Clarence Thomas that did it. So that's kind of bizarre. But anyway, that was one of the few good things I saw.
And NPR, I think, described this really well. They called it the best of both worlds for Republicans, because they can coordinate and now raise unlimited money.
Yeah.
And it's something like mega donors make up 80% of the RNC's donor base. It's about half that for Democrats. Doesn't it seem to you like this gives donors even more ability to control the RNC than they already had?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no limits. Forget about the $3,600 or $3,800, $3,700 cap on what you can give to a federal candidate. No, there's no limits. There's nothing. You can coordinate. No, it just lifts. And like I said, with billionaires now, with Elon Musk, all of them, Peter Thiel, all these guys, they can they can just dump boatloads now direct. I mean, with basically direct coordination. I mean, it is the best of both worlds for the Republicans. And it's another, partisan, the way the court has fueled more money in politics, like you said, Max, and I think it's great. It's like they've decided there's not enough money, big money in politics. They wanted to create more power for the big money. That's what this decision does.
Yeah.
And that's why, in the Dean campaign, when I started, I thought, look, I thought we were going to break the system in a way that said, no, if all of us gave $10, $15, $25, I'm talking about citizens, rank and file members of the party, who are in the precincts doing the work, activists, that would change the way, we would have a more impact, and we'd have Washington would be listening to us more. Instead, what happened was the Republicans went, well, man, we're not going to compete with that so much. We're just going to, in the court, we'll open the floodgates so we can compete with the people by letting corporations and billionaires massively fund with no limits, and literally erase the power of individuals. And I think that's the right now, if this decision angers you, give $5 to a candidate that is going to be for democracy, stand against this stuff, because they just open the door to billions more on the other side. Pick the candidates that you can. I know it's tough out there, folks, but double down, give again. There are plenty of good races we can win, but they just open the floodgates, basically to flood us, to drown our voice. That's what they're trying to do.
And putting on the strategist hat here, I mean, how do Democrats message on this decision? Do voters even pay attention to things like campaign finance law decisions from the court? And if they don't, should Democrats be trying to make them pay more attention?
Well, one, they don't, but we need to, Democrats should be, because this is a decision that drowns the voice of everyday Americans and puts more power in the hands of corporations and billionaires to buy more of a corrupt swamp in Washington that's even now more corrupt with Trump. So no, our only way out is us. It's going to take every single one of us. We can win in November. We're going to win in November, but we have to do the work, and we have to provide our candidates the resources to fend off this insanity. And then really hold people accountable for this and other decisions that are being made right now. Yeah.
And I'm really curious how you see this shifting the balance, because the Supreme Court, all Republicans were saying, actually, this is a good thing because now it lets state and national parties compete with super PACs. They can give now just as much as a super PAC can. But it seems to me like this is sort of a false choice. Like the idea that more money is inevitable is just baked into their thinking.
Yeah, no. There should be more limits and more disclosure, not less disclosure and less, and no limits. I mean, that's what's crazy. I don't know about you, but most people can't afford to even hit the max of the 3,600, 3,700, for a federal candidate. And like if everybody was locked into that you had to raise money to hit that, you could raise money up to that max. Those were the days when we actually had, campaigns where we actually talked about issues more and used the resources to actually talk to people, at their doors and on the street. No, not anymore. Now it's like, how much money can you amass to run even more ads, more negative ads, whatever. And the one thing I would say is, look, they've completely opened the door. But the other thing we've learned is that there's a place where, more money doesn't add up to more, to better returns, right? I mean, I did the campaign for Jerry Brown against Meg Whitman in California back in 2010, I think it was. She spent $187 million on television, got to a 14-point lead. Jerry could only raise $37 million. I mean, so we were outspent 5-6 to 1. I mean,
Yeah.
and she had a 14-point lead. We ended up beating her by 14 points. So at some point, you can have all this money, but when you got crap to sell, like the war in Iran, the tariffs, your gas prices, and everything else, I guess they're going to spend a lot of that money telling everybody, Frico Rico, whatever, and going after, the cultural issues. But I'm not sure that's where the country is, and I'm not sure you can spend enough money that's going to make people say no. Look, when they're putting, when they're buying groceries, go, oh no, this is okay because the billionaires are paying for more attack ads against Tallarico or whoever your candidate is. Stick to your candidate, help them fight. We can beat these guys.
At least the billionaires have a voice.
Yeah.
But there was some good news out of the Supreme Court today, shockingly. The Supreme Court shutting down Donald Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship in a 5-4 decision, which is concerning. It was that close over such a fundamental question. But John Roberts' decision was fiery in basically telling Donald Trump, you need to learn how to read the plain text of the 14th Amendment. Joe, I'm curious if this is going to be a big decision that's likely to fire up Republicans now as we get into the midterms.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot that is going to fire up Republicans in the midterm. I'm just not seeing any signs of that at all in any of the polling I've seen. And I know we're going to get to a couple of the polls that are out in important races, but there's nothing that shows it. Like I was talking, look, the Alabama primaries just happened for Doug Jones, who I'm working for. And what was fascinating is Doug didn't have much of a race, and there weren't any other really contested races on the Democratic side in those primaries. Democratic turnout was up 116% over 2022's primaries in the state of Alabama for Democrats. On the Republican side, where they had a very spirited governor's Senate for sure, Senate primary, and a million spent on the governor's race too. Their turnout declined 25%. So you had 116%, over double what the turnout's been for Democrats in the past, and a 25% decrease with Republicans. I'm seeing that in polling, and we saw it in general election after general election, Virginia, New Jersey, and other races over 2025 and into 2026. There's a energy divide going on, and it's benefiting Democrats, not Republicans. And I'm not sure birthright citizen. I mean, I just don't think that. I mean, I'm not sure there were a lot of MAGA people looking to take their passport to the voting booth. So I just think, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think the Voting Rights Act and other things that they've done, ICE killing 2 people in Minneapolis, there's lots of things that have energized Latinos, blacks, women. It's almost like Trump has gone out to piss off every single group that he actually had moved towards him. He had moved some black men towards him. Well, get the Voting Rights Act, Latinos, mass deportations. Tariff, and all of us are facing with the high costs that come out of tariffs and the war in Iran, which still isn't. No one knows why we went there, and we're still not done with it. So I don't know. I just don't think the energy on the right is something that is. And the other thing is, we've known this through all the midterms. A lot of MAGA just does not vote when Donald Trump's not on the ballot. I mean, that's just a
very
fact.
true.
And we also know he's not doing as well with even Republican approval in this midterm as he was. And with independents, oh man, it's a horror show.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And to your point, I mean, his second term, his achievement mainly seems to be alienating everyone. Yeah. Immigration, once a big Republican issue, now one poll has him 13 points underwater on it. And as a strategist, I'm always looking at where the hook is for this. Where is the organizing opportunity in this birthright decision for Democrats? Does this give us some room to finally talk a bit more courageously about this issue that a lot of Democrats have quite honestly been avoiding?
No, I think that's right. I just think, well, first of all, look, I still think go into this election fighting on where people are, what they're concerned about. And right now they are concerned about costs and all that, but they're also very concerned about the threat to democracy. I mean, you're seeing democracy go up, but no, this is, I don't think we've got to like double down on, right now we can fix stuff like that once we get in. But right now, I think we are, first of all, don't get in the way of Trump and the Republicans who are, doing a lot to screw themselves up and are continuing to do that. And I don't think things are going to get better economically between now and November. And so I think that making clear that this is, I've said this before, I'll say it again, this is not a blue wave. It's a change. It's a wave of change. And the reason you tell it, it's not just Democrats that are energized and voting against this stuff. It's independents breaking literally 3-1 against Trump and MAGA for Democrats. And I'm sure they have problems with the Democratic brand, but it's clear to me that what we've seen, when you see double haters, people who hate both parties voting 8-2 for Democrats, when you see independents breaking 3-1 for Democrats, and all the talking heads can talk about is what are they going to do about the toxic Democratic brand when the evidence is all around us that there's a brand that's become much more toxic, however toxic you think the Democratic brand is, MAGA and Trump have become much more toxic, so much so that independents and double haters are saying, no, I want to turn the page. I want to vote for change. That means voting for the Democrat in my race. And that's what's happening. And that's why I think they can, that's probably why, hey, how much more money can we get these guys? I mean, that's, it's part of, how many more districts can we redraw, and then they're even screwing that up, which we'll get to when when we get to the Tallarico poll, because I think that's where you want to go next. If I'm
I want to jump to that. But I also want to get your thoughts. Did it surprise you at all that John Roberts went so hard in the paint here criticizing the Trump administration's reasoning on this? I mean, it's a really aggressive decision from John Roberts.
Well, one, I think given everywhere else where he's ducked and enabled and empowered him, this was an easy one for him to scream, what the hell were you thinking, right? I mean, come on. I mean, that's where most Americans are. And so, it was a give me. If I was advising him, I would have told him to do that, because I don't think it's real. I think he's, hey, let's open the doors, no coordination's allowed, no limits, but talk with a big stick on birthright, citizenship, that every American, I think, most of them, I mean, unless you're really a white supremacist or somebody way out there.
Unless you're Stephen Miller.
Yeah, Stephen Miller. Well, Trump said, and I think it's one of the truer things he ever said, is he said, because he doesn't tell the truth much, but he did say that if Stephen Miller had his way, there would only be 100 million Americans, and they would all look like Stephen Miller. Trump said that. And then, of course, what have they done since then? Tried to do everything they could to make that the America that Stephen Miller wants. And I think that's what this money's about. That's what the redistricting fight was about. That's all of it. And obviously mass deportations, jailing citizens, murdering citizens. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So let's jump in to see how this all connects into the big story that I know you've been waiting to talk about. A lot of our viewers have been interested in talking about. The big story in Texas, where the Tallarico Ken Paxton fight is heating up. Polls are showing the race either tied or with Tallarico slightly ahead. Former Senator Jeff Flake endorsed Tallarico. We also saw Ken Paxton get a little bit of rough media this week with a video that was published of him taking a luxury vacation with his mistress right in the middle of a moment when a lot of Texans are struggling to pay their bills. Joe, what kind of message does all of this send to voters?
To Iceland, I think. It was a Trump little excursion to Iceland over July 4th.
Like you do.
Yeah, you know. So, well, first of all, the good news is that revelation was not in these polls. This poll was conducted before that video ran and the mess that he's gotten himself into. The most interesting thing in that poll, the number that I like just made me go, my mouth drop, was the Trump, how well Tallarico is doing with Latinos. I mean, it's like, I can't remember the exact number in the poll, but it was pretty substantial. But the Trump's unfavorable was, his favorable with Latinos was 27% in that poll.
Yeah.
And that just tells you that, I mean, I think the most significant thing, at Tallarico, I got it. He's winning Latinos in this poll 61-29. And of course, as I said, Trump's approval with Latinos is 27. So that tells you, I think, a couple of things. But more importantly, I think the thing it said to me was going back to those 5 districts that the Republican, Trump picked up the phone, called Abbott, said, I need 5 new districts in Texas. And what they did was they redrew those lines based on Trump's performance with Latinos in Texas. I mean, when he won them
in 2024.
2024, right. When he won them in 2024. They drew all these. So there's districts in, I think Texas 35 is one of them. That district is 57% Latino. This was one if you did with Latinos what Trump did in 2024, could make it a competitive district for Republicans to have a shot at. No, it's going to be a Democratic district. Look at 61-29 at the top of the ticket, and you got a president you got to carry that's only getting 27% approval. Latinos are gone too, along with the independents. So no, I mean, I think yes, the Paxton 47 Tallarico poll at 47 is the best result for any candidate for the U.S. Senate in Texas in decades, even before, going back to Beto. This is the best one at this stage of the election. And when you look at that at the top, the problem Paxton has, plus that what's going on with Latinos in the state, and those 5 districts, the new districts they created, were all based on pushing in moving a Latino base that they thought they were going to win. They're not going to win that part of what they thought, the coalition they were putting in there. I think they're going to lose the majority of those 5 districts. I mean, everybody, you go back and who won the redistricting thing? Oh, they've got an edge. Republicans have an edge because of this, that, and the other states. No, it's going to turn out to be a total wipeout for them. None of their redistricting is going to help them. And certainly not the redistricting in Texas. And I think that's one of the most important numbers in that poll. The other one, of course, is yes, the head-to-head is clear. And when you look underneath the hood, where independents are, where Democrats are, even and when you take into account that the polls have no way of measuring that 116% rise I talked about with Democrats and the 25% decrease. You look at the lack of energy on the Republican side, that Paxton Cornyn fight. I'm sure a lot of those Cornyn voters will see. They may hold their nose and vote for Paxton. They may stay home, but I don't think there's a lot of energy there to go, scream into the polls to vote for Paxton. And Tallarico is showing real strength. And I don't know. That's one where I said I think they can spend $100 million against him, and it is going to be a coin toss. Probably it's going to be that close. But man, we can win a race that close with the energy we have and with the quality of candidate that Tallarico is. And I think he and the other campaigns there are going to shock a lot of people in Texas. I think we're going to win a lot of those House seats.
Yeah. And the point you make about this massive shift in Latinos now to where they support Democrats in Texas more than they did prior to 2024 is ironically one of the reasons and the warnings given for why you don't mid-cycle redistrict, because you tend to overestimate short-term trends. And even these Republican numbers, I think, are interesting. We're seeing Republicans sort of coming back home after the Cornyn Paxton fight, but not all of them. There is still a fair number of Republicans who say they just will not vote for Ken Paxton because they find him slimy, because of his conduct in giving this sweetheart deal to a convicted pedophile, because of things like this Iceland trip.
Yeah.
It just seems like a campaign where Paxton is far more confident that he's going to win this just on demographics than he should be, given how little he's working.
Well, he's got to be pretty confident if he's going to Iceland with a mistress over the July 4th instead of celebrating it, in Texas at a rodeo or something. It's like, no, it's actually, it's not just that. It's like, hey, I can get away with anything, because God knows he has, even with the Republican Party impeaching him and going after him. He still survived it and beat Cornyn. So he probably thinks he's invincible, like somebody else I know who's in the White House believes that. But I think they're going to be stunned on election day. And the other thing about Texas, by the way, is it still is not on anybody's card, right? I mean, when you look at the races people think we're going to win that give Democrats a chance at the majority in the Senate, there are other places. Iowa with Josh Turek is up by 2 points over Hinson there. You have Patola in Alaska. You have, Graham Plattner in Maine is up over, in Maine over Collins.
Susan Collins,
So, and again, this is after all the revelation, all the hand-wringing and everything, but he's still in it. And my point is, when you look at that and look at the other dynamics that we're talking about, independence, the change that's, and by the way, I think Graham Plattner is an example of it, of how strong the urge for change is. That's why Mills, the governor, is not the nominee. I think people are looking past all you can go after these guys, everybody on a bunch of different things. But, Plattner is authentic, real, comes off that way in talking, and Collins is the same old. And so I think you can attack him for being different, attack him for his tattoos, all that stuff. But I think that all is okay, things are so bad and she's just more of the same. I'll take a chance. He's going to be one senator out of 100. And I think you're going to see that happen all across the board. I mean, in places that we aren't even thinking about today. Hyde Smith in Mississippi is in the mid to low 40s. She's an incumbent Republican. The Democrat is high 30s, low 40s. I mean, I'm just not saying that Mississippi's going to happen, but what I'm saying is we're seeing places that we, 2 or 3 months ago, no one would have thought, that Tallarico would he have much of a shot against Cornyn? Be more difficult. Well, it's not Cornyn, it's Paxton, and Paxton's, instead of learning from his past mistakes, is just making more of them, right? So, corrupt, a sleaze, all that stuff. So, no, I think that what we're seeing here, I've been saying for months that I think, we'll take the House and the Senate, and I still am there even after the Supreme Court says, okay, Republicans, spend all you want, coordinate all you want, attack all you want, we'll let you. It's okay. But that means we have to step up. If it's now time to really double down. If you can't give, then knock on doors, do something, but This is not one to sit on the sidelines. Get active, be there. I know that's why you pay attention to us and why we're all on Lincoln Square Media trying to provide the information you need to take the actions that we're all going to need to take to win in November. And I think that the court today was just sounded the red alert.
Yeah.
Literally the red alert.
Yeah, and with the 4th of July weekend looming upon us, that is a great call to action to remember what the country's about, is taking action. Power comes from people, and people have proven time and again that when we work together, we can overcome even mountains of money and corruption. Yeah, and I think with that last bit of insight, we're about out of time. I want to thank you, my guest, the great Joe Trippi, for joining me this evening on what has been a jam-packed strategy session. Oh, definitely replay it and learn some more.
I want to just do a plug. Sunday, we're dropping.
Yeah, please.
We're dropping another On the Ground with Joe Trippi in Iowa. I went back. I was in Iowa. I was actually shooting some television commercials out there up north in farm country, on a pig farm outside of Mason City. But I decided to sit down with Laura Bellin, who's like just the go-to person in Iowa on what's happening. And so if you want to catch that, it's a lot of good news. You want to hear it because I think that's a place where we're going to significant pickups in the House and the Senate and maybe the governor's race as well. So make sure you tune into that. Thanks, Max, for having me.
It is amazing how many pig farms you end up visiting in politics.
Yes,
you wouldn't think. Anyway, that's it for us. Follow us on Twitter, Lincoln Square Media, YouTube, Lincoln Square Media, Substack at Lincoln Square. You can follow me on Twitter at TheMaxBurns. Joe, where can folks follow you?
At Joe Trippi on most social media, and of course, that Trippi show and On the Ground and the two Joes. Wherever you get your podcasts or on Lincoln Square.
And that does it for us here on Strategy Session. But there are so many more videos for you to watch over at Lincoln Square Media YouTube, at Lincoln Square Media. And so do your patriotic duty this holiday and watch a lot of content. We'll be back right same time next week with even more Strategy Session. Until then, be safe out there and remember, take action. Bye.